All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, 1st of October meeting. I want to welcome everyone here. It's good to see all of you. Hope you're ready for the season change. I am. Been a little warm this summer, so. There were some agendas there. If anybody doesn't have one, we can actually get some more. And would like to go ahead and, like I said, call this meeting to order. We'll begin as usual with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation. Please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Our Father God, we thank you for another opportunity to come together in service to the people of the county. Lord, just pray that you would watch over us, lead, guide, and direct us. Help us to understand our business before us, Lord, and just pray that you would watch over us, give us the wisdom we need, and just pray that you would continue to be with our county and be with those in need. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
We do have a request for one modification, and that's going to be under general business, and that's approval of adding a POW bench at the Veterans Park, or not. A vote on that. And that's the only additions that there are. So with that, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
A move and a second to approve the amended agenda. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 5-0. Next in our packet, we have a couple of sets of minutes, one from the emergency called meeting and one from our last regular meeting. Are there any questions regarding those? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Move and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 5-0. Thank you. Thank you for those minutes. Okay, we'll move right into our agenda. First on the list is Chamber of Commerce Spotlight Business. We have a couple of representatives, or maybe just one, going to do it tonight. Ms. Edwards, welcome.
Thank you. And before I get started with the Spotlight business, I wanted to give an update on what's going on with the Chamber. So we did have 3 new members since the last time I met you all, which I'm really excited to report on. One is the Alleghany Sparta Trails Association, the other is Matthias Mountain Properties, and the last is Harris on Main. I'm particularly excited about Harris on Main because, as I mentioned the last time I spoke with you all, they are the newest business on Main Street. So to have them recruited into the Chamber so quickly is really exciting for me. And then up next, I wanted to briefly mention we are going to be having an upcoming ribbon cutting, tentatively. Kathy's Creations has been in business for 7 years, and she has now transitioned into taking on her business full-time. She was originally doing it part-time, so we are really excited for her, and we want to celebrate this transition for her. So a date will be coming soon, and you can find that on the Chamber Facebook page, the Chamber Link News Brief, or the Authentically Alleghany website. So heading on into the Spotlight business, unfortunately, Jill, who is the lead technician at Halsey Drug, and also Randy, the lead pharmacist, were not able to be with us this evening. They really wanted to, and they had planned to, but some other things came up. So I will be presenting on them. And I was really excited to pick Halsey Drug, and I was glad they accepted because October is actually Pharmacist Month. So I thought it worked really well with the flow of things. And Halsey Drug actually opened in 1950, so they have been in business in Sparta for 68 years. They joined the Chamber in 2000, so they have been a Chamber member for 18 years, which is really great. They have about 7 to 10 employees. It varies with the seasons and the summer whenever they can recruit some of the individuals that are not in school. So I spoke with Jill and Randy at length, and it was really exciting to kind of get to know them more and to get to learn about Halsey Drug a lot and kind of talk about Pharmacist Month. So I'll just kind of go through that conversation really briefly with you, highlighting some key points. So whenever I asked Jill what she thought Halsey Drug had contributed to the Sparta community, she said that it offers a friendly healthcare environment. And I think that that really kind of coins what Halsey Drug is for us, because they aren't a chain, they're locally owned. And like I mentioned before, they have been here for 68 years. So I think they are definitely a part of who we are as Alleghany County. And whenever I spoke with Randy a little bit, she said that Pharmacist Month, although highlights how pharmacists are an important part of the healthcare spectrum, she also mentioned that it's also about remembering the people who support the pharmacists so that they can achieve all their goals as well. And Jill said that all the employees of Halsey Drug are strong health professionals that really contribute to a successful, productive environment. And after speaking with them both, I noted that Halsey Drug has a very friendly staff, and they really possess an eagerness to assist. They have a strong dedication to customer service, and they really are willing to help with whatever questions or concerns you may have as a customer. And I think it's really important, although neither Jill or Randy mentioned this, that they are very philanthropic in our community. They are currently doing a hurricane relief collection drive, and they have partnered with grants on that, so I think that that is a wonderful thing. And they have in the past hosted school supplies drives, and then they both noted how customer service is really important to their business model, and they oftentimes have different customer services kind of events to show that they appreciate their customers and that they really value them and what they contribute to them at Halsey Drug. And I also wanted to mention that Halsey Drug also houses the Blossom Shop, which is a full-service florist, and then they have a large gift selection, and they also have a dry cleaner services, so you can drop them off there, and then the dry cleaner actually operates out of Ashe County. So that was something new that I did not know. And on behalf of the Chamber, I was really honored to kind of present this on behalf of Halsey Drug. Like I said, Jill and Randy both expressed their regrets at not being able to be here tonight, but I think it's really important that they have such good customer service excellence, and I think that's why they have been so successful as a business in our community. But they also contribute a positive community impact with those philanthropic efforts that I mentioned earlier, because giving graciously of what is theirs has been really nice and something that I've enjoyed watching them contribute to Sparta and Alleghany County. That concludes my presentation on Halsey Drug, and my director, Katie Hedelman, has a couple of closing remarks also.
Good evening. Thank you, Jordan. She did an awesome job, and really proud to work with her day by day. And I challenged her to take this on when Mike James invited the Chamber to take over the Spotlight business. Jordan jumped right in and was really excited. So thank you and great job. I wanted to make an announcement. We are hosting our annual Chamber of Commerce Awards Banquet. The date is November 17th. It's a Saturday. It's at Old Bow. And I'm really excited about the folks that we are going to celebrate. We're celebrating our 35th year at the Chamber of Commerce, and there were some key folks that will join us this evening to help us celebrate. But I wanted just to share with you, one, invite you to buy tickets. They'll go on sale next week, but also to reach out to these individuals that we're going to celebrate in November. We have a tie for Community Impact Award. The AMH Fundraising Cabinet for the hospital and the Alleghany County Wellness Center. Young Professional of the Year, Whitney Ivy with Adams and Ivy. Business of the Year, CarQuest, Roger Schote. And our Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Tom Burgess, and we're really excited to celebrate him. Patrick Woody is coming up to give this award along with Tom's family, and we are looking for Tom to attend. But it's a great event. Encourage you all to come out, and again, we appreciate all of your support, and a lot of great things are happening in Alleghany County. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And Jordan, thank you for that presentation. Very good. Okay. We'll move along to item A, public agenda comments. If there's anyone here from the public that would like to address this board on any of the agenda items, now would be the time to come and make it known.
I am sneaking in from the Chamber and also from the marketing group to talk about their agenda items. I'm Molly DeBose, and I'm sharing information about the Blue Ridge Read. The 2018 Blue Ridge Read marks the 5th time that we have done a community book. We're part of a national group that promotes adult literacy by asking everyone in the county to read the same book. It's a national program known as One County, One Book. The Read is a project of the Alleghany Arts Council, and we receive support from the North Carolina Community Foundation, and also we take donations from the public. This year's book is Refuge by Dot Jackson. Some of you may recognize her name because as a writer for the Charlotte Observer, she was instrumental in opposing the project to dam the New River. She assisted in having the New River designated as a wild and scenic river. I had never heard of that designation before, but I've seen the river on Sunday afternoons, and it does look kind of wild and scenic.
It's been wild some Friday nights, too, in the past.
This is Dot's...
I wouldn't know anything about it.
No,
I
I've
just
heard,
that.
just what I've heard. This is Dot's one and only novel, and it is rich and colorful. Her love of her people and the land, especially the mountains, comes through in this book. Dot died a few years ago, and as a speaker for our weekend events, we have Patrick McMillan. Patrick graduated from Alleghany High School, and he has his PhD from Chapel Hill. He's currently the director of the South Carolina Botanical Garden at Clemson University. He also hosts the PBS series Expeditions with Patrick McMillan. We encourage you to support the Blue Ridge Read by attending Patrick's book talk on October 19th and his discussion on October 20th entitled Gardening for Life. Both events will be held at the library, and we believe that they will be wonderful to complement Studio Tour Weekend. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no movement there, no more movement, we will go ahead to item B, and that's presentations to the board. We have, our list says Dale Cavaney and Sarah Dalton, but we have Sarah. Dale had an emergency, family emergency this morning, so let's keep him in our prayers. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like Mr. Mark said, Mr. Dale is not going to be able to be here because of family emergency, so I'm here this evening just to give a quick update of some of the stuff that we've been working on with the marketing program this summer. So there we go. I was worried about this making problems with the clicker. So AuthenticallyAlleghany.com, our website, has been active for right at 5 months now. And our main goal of the whole marketing strategy is to push as much traffic to the website as possible. And that's because of how much information that our website holds, and it has an up-to-date calendar. So from May to September currently, we have had 24,379 page views on the website. And the average time that users are staying on the site is 1 minute and 48 seconds. 85% of those users are new visitors to the website, and then 14% are returning visitors. So our hope is to grow that returning visitors number to kind of outweigh that new visitors. So some of the ways that we're funneling traffic to the website is through our Twitter page, our Instagram page, the blog posts that we're posting, our Facebook page, our video event updates that go on YouTube, and then as well as our mobile app. And to give you a little bit of an update on the mobile app, it's been up and running for about 2 months now, and we have 206 total downloads. The average time that people are spending on the mobile app is 1 minute and 17 seconds, And one of the strategies that we had to help promote the mobile app and to get those downloads was going out and visiting the businesses within the county that have a lot of public interaction. And the purpose of those visits was to drop off some of those rack cards that you have in front of you. It has directions on it on how to download the app. And that was also another purpose of the visit, was to help business owners learn how to download the app so that they can share it with visitors who come in. A really important aspect of those visits was developing and maintaining relationships with the public, and then assessing our marketing needs while we were there. Oh, come on. Come on. There we go. So what we have learned this far. So there's two things that kind of stood out to us that were a little bit surprising, and one of those is that we do not have metrics to measure our return on our marketing investments. And what I mean by that, for example, is I can't go up to an organization or to an individual at this point, because we have not a lot of background information on their events, and tell them where they're spending their money and whether it's the best return that they're getting on the event. I can't do that yet, but we're hoping that with time we'll be able to do that. The second part that we learned, it became apparent that we do not have any baseline data to measure the success for marketing efforts. And so with that in mind, to help try to build that baseline, we worked with the Sparta Alleghany Volunteer Fire Department on their 2018 Fiddlers Convention, and they really wanted to know the demographics of the people who were coming to this event. So we worked with them and we constructed a 5-question survey, and we headed out to the event and we surveyed spectators and campers. So with the spectators, we surveyed 42. And of those 42, 26% were Alleghany County residents. So that told us that a majority of the people coming to this event are not from here in the county. With the campers, we surveyed 27. And with our strategy on surveying them, we didn't hit every single camper. We did every third campsite because there were so many. And so from that, it was surprising that 0% of the campers that we surveyed were Alleghany County residents. But keep in mind, we do know that there was some residents there that were camping that's from here. The second question on the survey was, how did you hear about the Fiddlers Convention? And 3% said that they had seen it on the Fiddlers Convention website. 9% had seen it in a newspaper ad. 7% had heard it on the radio. 31% it was by word of mouth, and 6% they had seen it on signage throughout town, and 44% it was tradition for them, meaning that they've been coming from the very beginning and they come back every single year. One thing I do want to add, that 31%, we did include social media in that percentage, because that is technically a form of word of mouth communication. So then, putting all of this together, using what we have learned so far, I have 2 events that we have examples of how we have been marketing them within the county. The first one that I have is Stone Mountain State Park, their Old Fashioned Day. So Bill Meyer from Stone Mountain, he reached out to Dale and I, and he sent us the graphic and said, you know, can you share this to all of your social media sites and put it on your website? So we did. And I created a Facebook event on our Facebook page, because Stone Mountain didn't really have one. So to me, you know, Facebook is a really good way to grab a lot of people that you may not in other ways. So with a Facebook event, it does give you the capability for users to say that they're interested, not interested, or they're going. And it's important to realize that a Facebook event, you have to manage them. And what that means is, so every other week I would go back through and reshare that Facebook event to other resources. And so that way you're grabbing as many people as you can on Facebook. So the end result of that Facebook event, we had a little over 2,000 people mark that they were interested. 121 said they were going. There was 436 individual shares of the event. So that means that 436 people shared this event to their Facebook page. And it had 327 reactions. So I thought it was a pretty good Facebook event. The numbers were really good, but I was curious to kind of see how it actually went. So I followed up the previous week with Shannon Brewer, who works at Stone Mountain. And he said that last year's event, they had approximately 300 attendees. And then this year, for the same event, they had approximately 1,000 attendees. So it was a good number. The second event that I have is the Demolition Derby. So again, the Sparta Alleghany Volunteer Fire Department reached out to us and asked, we would like some help on marketing it. What can you do? Mike Perlier was really wanting a video of the Demolition Derby, a promo video, and he said he really wanted it to follow after the monster trucks. So I kept that in mind, and that's what we did. I think Mike has the video that he would like to show.
Let's play that right now.
That was the video. It was a very fun video to put together. Mike was really satisfied with the video. So after creating it, I went ahead and shared it to Facebook and some of our other social media outlets. It ended up having 2,215 video views, and we also put it on our events calendar on the website, and with our analytics we can go back through and see how many times people clicked in on that certain event on the events calendar, and that came back with 891 event views. So that was also another really successful event. Again, I wanted to follow up and see, well, how does this, compare to last year's? That's what really matters. And so I went back by and I seen Joseph McGrady, and I asked him if he would be comfortable with giving me some hard numbers so that I could kind of compare it a little bit, and graciously he did. So last year for the Demolition Derby, they pulled in $3,916. This year, they pulled in $11,977.91. Mike Perlier, I followed back up with him as well, and he said that their crowd size was easily double from last year, that there was no sitting space. So that's a really good event. That's what we want to see. That's here in the county. It's local, so we were very satisfied with that. So what's next? These are just some of the things that are coming up and that we've been working on. We're going to have a booth at the Apple Festival in Wilkesboro this upcoming weekend, October the 6th. We're going to have a tent. It'll have our event guide, some T-shirts, and some other county information. We have been working with the Chamber of Commerce and assessing print advertisement opportunities to make sure that our money is spent very well and that we're all on the same page and not duplicating work. We had 3 new T-shirt prints printed, and we have those at the BDC. They're available to purchase for $20. And the Dixie Classic Fair is going on, and we worked with Amy Lucas with the Extension Office. They have a booth every year. So we went ahead and asked, well, since you're already going to be there, can we partner up and send some of our information with you as well? And she graciously said yes. And I talked to Michelle Ham this morning, and she was asking, Mark Purdue had asked, can you please bring by some more mobile app cards and rack cards, because he handed out 300 of them at the Dixie Classic Fair. So we are very thankful for them and thankful for the relationships that we've built and the support. And to sum it up, we are trying to ensure that we are getting the best return on our marketing investments. So that's all that I have, and if you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
I'd like to add a couple of things while you guys percolate on what she's saying. Of course, any data that we analyze and draw conclusions right now is a little premature, but we got the August sales tax numbers this morning. So we have 2 months worth of sales tax for this fiscal year. So the locally collected sales tax were up 7% over last year's July and August numbers. The state were only up about 4%, so we're almost double the rate of increase locally as the state. Now, if the 7% number holds up for 12 months, that would be about $55,000 additional sales tax from what we anticipated. If you remember from our budget, we spent $50,000, we budgeted $50,000 for the marketing program. So if that keeps up, we've more than paid for it right there, not to mention the extra money in the pocket of our restaurants and shops and things like that. Again, 2 months is a little early to draw a conclusion, and it was compared to July and August last year, so it wasn't compared to, we didn't monkey the numbers there. So again, those are the kind of investments that we're looking for. When we'll continue to, 2 years from now, we'll have a lot of data we can analyze as we continue, but want to stress to the board and to the citizens, this is money that's well spent. I applaud previous boards for moving forward with this program. We're really to the point where it's starting to bear fruit at this point. So,
I'd certainly agree with that. I think kind of bringing a lot of energy in the community and sort of focusing it through your office, done a great job starting out. And I think really what's going to be helpful going forward is collecting these data points that you're working with and understand the advantages and what they can do for us going forward, so that we can make sure that and help folks put their money in the best areas for the return, as you said. So, anybody else?
Great job, sir. Thanks.
I just think that from the beginning to where you are now, the program has really grown. And where it'll be in, like Mike says, 2 or 3 years, if these numbers keep increasing like they have, it's a good endeavor for everybody, for the county and the town.
And I would point out, too, you have a great senior partner, I would call him, in Dale. And I think y'all make a great team and work together really good, and really appreciate what he has brought to the county, too, and his willingness to serve in the various roles that he does. So thank y'all for working together and pulling off some pretty successful stuff. Look forward to hearing more.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move along to general business. We have, we visited our antiquated, outdated animal control ordinance. Where do we want to go with that?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I had 2 kind of basic thoughts on the ordinance. Number 1 is up here at the top of the screen, acts that are deemed a public nuisance. We do have those defined. I think those are okay. We don't really have, through the ordinance, we don't really have the exact process for deeming an animal a public nuisance. So does it require board action? Does it require sheriff's action? Does it require county manager? We don't really have that. It would be good to get some clarity around what exactly, how an animal is declared a nuisance. The ordinance specifically says dog. Do we want to can other animals be a nuisance? Do we want to change that to animal rather than dog? And then,
Cats are a nuisance to me, but that's a personal thing.
you're talking to a cat lover here, so. Secondly is the licensing, which we kind of joked about last time with the 25-cent late fee and all that. 2 thoughts on the licensing. Number 1 is, if we keeping that and making it some kind of market, $20 or $30 fee, we could take that money and in turn fund a full-time animal control officer. That's one thought on the fee, on the licensing. If we'd rather not have the licensing, that's okay too. We can just pay for that from general fund money. I'm all about driving as much fee as we can to the actual user of the service rather than more of a overall approach from just general tax dollars. We haven't enforced this in years. I don't like having something in the ordinance that we are actively not enforcing. I don't think that's good policy. So if we don't want to collect it, we should remove it from the ordinance. If we do want to, collecting it and using it to fund a full-time animal control officer makes a lot of sense too. So those are my 2 basic thoughts, and just want to see where the board wants to go from here.
Also, more enforcement out of it.
That's kind of where my thoughts went to on trying to how you enforce it and how much effort and cost you put into it for enforcing it, but other ideas, thoughts?
There are 7,400 households roughly that pay the solid waste fee, so we use that as a household number in the county. I think conservatively, 1 out of every 3 households would have a dog. That would be 2,500 dogs roughly.
Some share dogs.
Yeah.
They have like.
Some have
neighborhood.
multiple dogs, you know.
So,
But I think at a bare minimum, there's 2,500 dogs in the county at an absolute minimum. So if you, $20 fees, $50,000 that could be raised, that would pay for a full-time animal control officer. But certainly enforcing it, collecting it is a whole other animal, and doing away with it is fine. I just don't like having it in here and actively not enforcing it. I just don't think that's good policy.
Do you think it would be possible for the veterinarians, whenever they do the vaccination, to collect a fee
That's
For both-
certainly one thought, yeah.
for both dogs and cats,
That's certainly one
or any domestic
idea.
animal? Because I remember in my youth, we had a lot of people that had pet skunks after they had been de-skunked. But if, that would be my idea, and if you are going to do that, and let's say that we set that fee at $10 an animal, domestic animal, or $10 for a pet. If we put in the cats, the skunks, the dogs, we would probably end up with double that, which would certainly pay for a full-time animal control officer. Right now, if we don't start enforcing it, we aren't enforcing it, it's an ad hoc, there's no need to have the daggone thing.
I kind of like that idea of not having it, personally. As a dog lover, a lot of folks are kind of doing a service by adopting these dogs from some of the local kennels, whatever. And I'm not really versed on some of the problems that Josh has. I'd kind of be interested in getting some input from Josh Green, who some of the problems that he's experienced and some suggestions. He is, after all, he's the overseer of this particular sub-department, I guess you could call it. So
I think it'd also be appropriate to bring in the sheriff, because he's the one that's getting the calls at dispatch, and get some idea of the number of calls that are coming in and the severity.
I don't know if you noticed in last Wednesday's paper, in the police blotter, someone was ticketed for an animal running at large, and I want to talk to that magistrate and see how they did that. Do you know how they?
Not only that, but you had 2 youths that were bitten by a pit bull.
Yeah.
And I believe charges resulted, and also there was a trip to the emergency room. So, we can dicker about having to pay a $10 tax, but the last time I was in the emergency room, I think the government paid a little bit over $1,500.
Setting aside some money for an animal control officer, it doesn't have to be from a dog fee. We can just do that from the regular, it could be a quarter to half a cent of property tax, to do it that way. So that's not a big deal, but we do need to think about some, having a full-time animal control officer, which we do not have right now. A couple of people, it's part of their duties.
Right.
And it works okay, but we've had a significant increase in calls the last 3 or 4 months, certainly.
I'm not interested in taking it out of property tax. Whenever we take it out of property tax, if you've got a homeowner that doesn't live here, but he owns property here, his animal is not here, but he's having to pay for the policing of that. To me, I like to, if you're going to own a pet, there are expenses involved. That is where it should be in my mind. But I don't like it taken out of the personal property tax, period.
Does this apply to, what animal does it apply to? Animals
Well, the beginning of the ordinance
It-
says it
it's right
applies
there
to
under-
animals,
under-
but then that nuisance specifically says dog, so that should say animal there,
But
but,
the next paragraph down, animal defines it as any dog, cat, or other domestic household pet.
yeah, but this one specifically says dog. So it's basically saying a cat or a goat or a pig cannot be declared a nuisance because only a dog can be.
So cats have to have a collar and a tag, or,
No.
I mean, you got barn cats, people on dairy farms, on farms have umpteen animals that could fall under this.
Again, the fee that was charged in 1983 was specifically for dogs here, as you can see, it's only for dogs. That's not saying that's if we're going to charge a fee, it probably should be for domesticated animals of any kind, or pets, I guess, of any
You've
kind.
got a cat also. but
If we're
you'll
gonna
ne-
do
you
it-
never you'll never get a collar on her or him, But,
I can still
But-
collect,
but-
I can still
but
collect
we
your
still-
$10 though.
but we still have rabies shots every year, 2 years, whatever it comes around, it seems like every year. I think we also need a process on how to declare an animal a nuisance. More than 2 calls?
More who has the authority to declare an animal a nuisance, that's really not clear, so.
Farm dogs that you have, working dogs that work cattle, work whatever they're doing, they would fall under this ordinance.
They get a rabies shot.
As it's written right now, they do fall under this ordinance. yeah.
People that come up here and go camping for the weekend, they would fall under that ordinance if they bring their dog or their cat, not their horse, I don't guess, but, I mean, Donna's had more problems with
Horses,
other animals than probably anybody has in a long time. And there needs to be somebody has to be responsible. But I just wonder how this affects, especially a lot of the farmers, people that have 30, 40, 200 or 300 acres where their dog runs, or the cat runs, or they have 5 or 6 cats in the barn. Now they're going to have a collar on those cats and a tag.
And if you all decide the licensing fee should stay in there, this ordinance can be whatever the board feels is appropriate.
Well, I mean, I don't know that we need to go, I mean, really, the purpose of this is we have some challenged areas, some dogs that need to be addressed. We just need something that covers them all, and then, the dogs that become problem dogs, there needs to be a way to, enforce, a way to straighten that up or clean that issue up. I mean, as far as, I don't think you're going to be able to control all the farm animals and stuff. As I say, when I live on the corner of a street, and I've got a farmer that lives and farms on a couple of roads, and his dogs are constantly following his truck around, and they're through my yard and stop and eat, and we pet them and play with them, and then they go on. But that's not a nuisance. I mean, they're not mean dogs. They're not biting any kids in the neighborhood, and that kind of stuff is not a problem. So I don't want to go, opening up a big can of worms where we don't need to. But
I look at it as a community service.
But where there are obviously some problems in the county, how do we address everything that then kind of would help us to police
Josh and the
those?
sheriff come and talk to us about what they're doing.
I know, because I know I have a little bit, engaged a little bit of conversation with the sheriff, a couple of deputies, and they do have some challenges, and they're getting called out, and they don't really have a good answer for it. So we need to try to figure out what we can do to help all those that are trying to address these issues when they come up. And then I guess in the meantime, decide, how do we want to I'm kind of like Commissioner John Irwin. If, you know, most, I'd say the overwhelming majority of our pet owners are responsible pet owners, and they're going to take them and get the shots that they need and the care that they need. And if there was a small fee to kind of help the whole county, I think everybody would probably be okay with that to a degree, as long as it's kind of in line with where it should be, so that you're not putting a burden on somebody that doesn't have pets. But that's just my thoughts.
You said there'd been an increase in complaints. I mean, like 10 complaints, 100 complaints?
I think it's gone from probably one a week to more like 2 or 3 a week, maybe more than that. I know the High Meadows area, we've had a lot of complaints, and then the Memorial Park Drive, Alleghany Manor area, we've had a lot of complaints from there recently. Those two areas specifically, there's a few dogs that are,
I wonder if the complaints are basically from the same people complaining over and over again that the pet owner's not being responsible, or are they all new complaints?
the Memorial Park Drive, I think it's 2 families of dogs that we've had multiple complaints about. You know, I'm not, High Meadows has been a lot of different people. I'm not sure if it's the same dogs or not.
The Memorial Park Drive, we ran into it whenever I was coming down the bypass the other day. The pack of 3 running in the road with a gentleman that looks like he was on his last legs behind him. And I've seen them running wild 3 or 4 times, but that is a town problem. That's inside the city limits. Doesn't the town have ordinances? Don't call us, call the town. I'll give them Wes Brenniger's phone number.
Well, you got
Instead of
I know
mine.
that the town limits runs right in that area too, so I don't know
But
where those
the
dogs
town
live.
controls a
there.
year,
Yeah.
1 mile past the limits.
That's true.
If you're going to take the good, you're going to take the bad with it.
Well, and keep in mind also, there are some state statutes that address things like livestock running at large, so that part's covered already by the state for the larger animals. And then there are statutes that address vicious animals, and it defines what vicious is. Basically, a dog gets 1 free bite, but after that, it's declared a vicious dog. And then there are statutes that govern that, so
One free bite.
it's not vicious until it bites one.
Are we charging a tax on animals right now?
We're not collecting, we haven't collected it in several years now.
I mean, I've never seen it show up on the tax records.
No. Rita said it's been at least 6 or 8 years since we've enforced that and collected anything, probably longer than that, so. And again, there's no right or wrong answer, you know, whether you collect the tax to help supplement the cost of animal control or not. There's no right or wrong answer to that, you know. I like to drive as much towards user fees and less towards taxes. That's just my personal opinion, you know. We could have no charge for building permits ever, and just raise everybody's property taxes a penny to cover it. But that doesn't make sense, you know.
You know, we could always form a committee. Meet in a couple of months.
How about,
Need but 3 more meetings.
how about we invite Josh and maybe somebody from the sheriff's office to the meeting on the 15th and continue the discussion at that point, so.
I think that's a good idea.
Support that.
Get a committee of
Tom can join
Ex-commissioners.
he can be the citizen on the committee when we form it, so.
Now, what about people that hunt rabbits, that run dogs, squirrels? People use dogs to hunt squirrels. Now they're using them to hunt bears or whatever. I mean, you don't have that dog on a leash, and the neighbor next door complains. Now you're up against, you know, somebody that's running 4, 5, or 6 beagles, you know, rabbit hunting. Where does that fall in?
Good question. I mean, where does it need to fall in? There probably should be
Well, they're not usually a nuisance.
Unless they treat the neighbor.
Well, right. I mean, you know, if somebody's out with them and the dog is well-trained, they're going to be doing what they're out there to do.
Most of them are
Most of those
using
are not going to
radio
be
collars
a
now.
nuisance. I mean, really what we're talking about is, you know, dogs that are attacking people or messing up trash and things of that nature on somebody else's property. I think that's our biggest complaint that we're having.
And I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Vicious
Yeah.
dogs, we probably need to
Yeah.
look at. But I would be in
I'd-
favor
yeah.
of getting Josh and the
But at the same
prosecutor,
time,
Sheriff.
if we develop something or modify this or whatever, you know, we don't want to get to the point where people can't go out and hunt, you know, because you can't, you'd have to have a pretty long leash to go rabbit hunting with dogs.
But with the constitutional amendment that's on the ballot this time about protecting the rights of hunters, so.
That's a whole nother conversation there.
Okay.
So where do we go from here?
Sheriff and Josh, next
Or
meeting.
Next meeting, see what kind of
wanna
response
bring
they
them in
have,
at night?
challenges they have. Okay, that works for me. Okay, next is legislative goals. Every 2 years, and this is the year they started, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners has a process where they develop a list of goals, 7 goals, I think they usually end up with, 7 or 8. And in your packet, there's a list of steering committees that kind of ties in with this, because they will look at the goals, and the goals will end up in some of these areas, in one of these areas. Usually they'll get a lot of goals submitted from anybody, any county that wants to, and any commissioner that wants to can submit a goal for the association to try to take to the legislation and lobby on our behalf. But their process and what they're gonna look at it is, you know, they don't wanna work on a goal that's just gonna meet a need for Alleghany County. They're looking for 100 county solutions. But they'll listen to any goal and take it in, and then they'll work through the process. These steering committees will look at them, and they'll process them, and then condense them down, and like I say, there'll be several of them that will be the same, end up, eventually, may not word for word, but would basically be the same goal. And then they will bring them back to a more focused meeting in February, I think it is. I participated in the last process, and they'll discuss them, debate them, and some new ones will be added from the floor, or at least proposed from the floor at that business session. And I am on one of these steering committees, Justice and Public Safety.
Your legislative goals, everything in your packet says September 30th was the submission deadline. With the hurricane, they extended it to next Friday. So we have through next Friday, the 12th, if we wish to submit a written goal for consideration. I don't know when the last time Alleghany County has done that, but we're certainly welcome to do that. And then the steering committees, basically, there's no appointment necessary. You just show up to a meeting and you're invited to participate. So there's not really not a formal committee membership. The board doesn't have to nominate you, anything like that. You can just show up as a county commissioner at any time.
But you do need to pre-register if you're going to show up at a steering committee meeting. And you don't have to show up at a steering committee meeting just to submit a goal. We can submit a goal and let them take it on. But I did want to give you the list of steering committees and their guiding principles that go along with them, to give you some idea of, and they meet twice a year. They meet in the spring and in the fall. I would like to encourage you to look over some of those and see if anybody would like to participate on some of those going forward. But if anybody does have any goals or anything they want to submit, just let me know and we'll get it in. And then, of course, we covered the next one, which are the steering committees as well. So Any comments on any of those? Okay, next on the list is our POW bench, and I think we've got a picture here we're going to circulate.
This is an example of one from a similar community. That's not exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be very, very similar to that, I understand.
And this will be on the patio.
Well, we haven't picked the location, but, you know, we talked about the handicap area, we talked about a patio area. We're going to try to pick a location, if the board approves this, within the next few days, where to put it while we're installing the Walk of Honor bricks and before the pavement's put down, because this will have to have a cement pad poured to support it.
Well, yeah, the location is determined by the county. We own the property. You would make a recommendation. Now, is this going to interfere with the Freedom Memorials? The company that came in and offered to install the Declaration of Independence and everything, the other monuments? Where do we stand on that?
We haven't heard back from them. I know they're working on a couple of other counties right now, so we don't have really anything further on that.
That is something, because the space is limited down there.
Mhm.
This is something that we need to look at.
I think, I mean, at this point, you know, you could, board could grant permission and assign a spot. You could grant permission and give the Veterans Committee, you know, the authority to pick the spot. Or, you know, of course, doing nothing is always an option in life.
I would like to see a diagram on where the bench is proposed to be placed, and in conjunction, make contact with the company that was going to provide the documents, the memorial for the Constitution and everything.
Charters of Freedom documents.
You know, this also needs to be done before the paving's done. If it's going to be an extended period of time before they are going to install those documents, then we can go ahead and act, but the bench is fine.
I mean,
But I want to know where the location is, because we approve that. That is county property. We have not delegated that.
Do we know what
ability.
size this, is this, the length of this is?
It's either 14 or 17 feet, I can't remember.
Oh, wow.
It comes in pieces. The owner, it comes on, he'll put it on 6 different pallets. He'll either pick it up or the
Okay.
committee will pick it up.
See that or not? Charlie, get a
And-
shot of that if you can.
What we're trying to do is have this installed while we're putting the other pieces together, the sidewalk, the other 2 patios, the benches that go with those.
But you don't have a place in mind yet, is that what I'm hearing?
We haven't physically gone down there as a committee to pick a place. What we intended to do tonight was to get the approval to accept this gift with the option for us to pick the location, because they'll be installing, they started today, and probably the end of this week or next week, they'll be pouring the cement. So we wanted to get 1 load of cement, get a better price on that, because this will take, I think it's a 12 by 17 pad to set that on. But as to go down there and put out 2 or 3 flags, no, we have not done
Right.
that.
Well, I personally wouldn't have a problem with having a bench down there. I would kind of like to know, you know, what our plan is as far as placing it.
We can try to get the committee back together one day, and those, the commissioners, I guess, could come down there and have an input.
Because we're going to have like terraces on both sides of the
Yeah, there's two benches right now, will be on
Okay,
the
so this
left and
is
the
an
right
additional
side, not this
bench.
one.
Okay.
Two separate ones
Uh-huh.
that the committee's paying for. They'll be on a pad on the right-hand side will be one on the left-hand side of the monument.
Uh-huh.
This one will be in a different location because hopefully as you look at the monument, on the left-hand side, we hope eventually to sell enough bricks to put a walkway over there or to put another pad with other types of monuments or memorials.
And the benefactor is paying for this, so they're
Yeah.
gifting it to the county.
Yeah, I got that impression.
You know,
It's
I agree
very
with John. I think, I had no problem with the benches. I think we really need to think through, though, the Freedom Memorial, how that's going to fit in with it. Because I hate to see us not end up with a place to put that.
So we're all in favor of allowing it to be installed, I guess with approval of the location. It's kind of where we're,
I thought the question was, do we approve of the bench design? Which I have no problems with the bench design, it's where it's ultimately going to end up.
that's what I said. I mean, everybody's okay with allowing it to be placed there. It's just exactly where do we place it? You know, we need to approve that. How soon could they locate it between now and our next meeting? And then come back with a location then?
I would like, well, I think if we could approve accepting this, and then whatever commissioners want to come, we can try to call a special meeting of the Veterans Committee and let them go down there and be part of the discussion where it's going to go. If they approve it, I don't think we'll have enough time after the mid-month meeting to install it. Everything, it should be in place by then. Everything else should be installed by that time period. They started digging today, putting in a drain pipe. They dug up where the sidewalk's gonna go. They dug around the tree. That tree's still down there. Those two of them, or one of them, needs to be moved right away. But if,
I don't think
we were just trying to get it together where we could save money.
Right.
And do it all at one time.
I don't think the commissioners need to be involved in the discussion. I think that the Veterans Advisory Committee should present their ideas to the commissioners, and that way we could approve it if they can have it drawn out. But we don't need to get into that discussion because we have adequate representation on that board. Not only that, since there's two members of the commissioners that are on that board, if one of us shows up during that discussion, since it's county business, minutes will have to be kept. So we've got legal ramifications in that. And I think we can avoid it by letting the Veterans Advisory Committee make the recommendation after they've cussed and discussed.
Yeah, and I think that they'd be fine doing that, but then their challenge is time frame. They're wanting to try to get it on a timeline. Would y'all be willing to have a special meeting after they determine that? I don't know what anybody's schedule is like. Maybe later in the week.
We've got a commissioners meeting in 2 weeks. Is it that critical?
Well, sounds like it. I mean, it would help if we could, but, whatever y'all
They
want
don't
to do.
even have
though.
a plan. They may still be arguing in 2 weeks.
Now, I talked to the installer today, and I asked him if he could do it without interfering with getting the bricks down. The bricks and the two patios on the right and left are the main things that we're doing.
And they're going to go where they're going to go, regardless of the decision of this. So they can move on with that.
Yeah,
Well, I would just, at this point, let's just go ahead and we have I think, a consensus unanimous to approve putting it there. You all determine where and then come back and we'll go from there.
we didn't get this donation till late last week.
Yeah.
And then today, the committee, we approved accepting the donation upon the approval of the commissioners accepting the donation.
Okay.
So the crunch is to try to get it installed as long as it won't interfere with getting the bricks and the other patio in. The Veterans Committee, I'm sure we can get together one day this week if Tom and John want to come and look and see if that meets their approval.
Well, we don't need to do it that way. The veterans group, you all need to meet and determine where you want to place it, and then bring that recommendation back to this board for approval.
When do you want it back here? Are you
Well-
going to have a special meeting, or,
Well, whenever you get an answer, we'll decide at that point what we can do.
okay? I'll get a hold of everybody tonight and let you know.
I'd be open to a special meeting if necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I would too, if it, to help move it along, but I don't know what everybody's availability is, so.
And I just do want to add one thing that Johnny brought up with these freedom guys.
Charters of Freedom.
The Charters of Freedom. We need to make sure we know where that money's coming from, and if any of our folks are the ones that's going to end up paying for it. It sounded like a great idea. I hate to come across as a septic, but
You're doing well.
thank you. It's
so good
just
at it.
too good to be true, I'm telling you. People don't come in here and just give you stuff.
You don't want it to end up like the Piney Creek fire truck, right?
Right.
The guy made 1 or 2 payments and
And that's just a warning, I'm just throwing it
Well,
out there.
I concur with that.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we're not doing it yet. Because
Okay.
whenever they presented the first time, the document I read was kind of a train wreck.
Well, I ain't seen them
So
since.
we haven't heard back from them. So the ball's in their court, and we haven't, I haven't seen anything since then, so.
I haven't either.
So, I
rather
mean, I would
concerned.
like to keep it open as an option, but I'm not,
But if it does show up and it is free, we need a place to put it in low balance.
I agree.
We need to be prepared. I don't want to knock ourselves out.
So, would there be a motion to approve the POW bench pending the location?
Make a motion to approve the POW bench design only.
Second that only.
Motion and a second. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. 5-0. Thank you. Okay, next on the list is our consent agenda. You all have seen those items. Any questions?
I have questions on item 1 and item number 4.
Okay.
If I could ask my questions on 1 and 4.
Yeah, item one is.
Item 1, is that a dual band radio? Are we going VHF and 800 megahertz on that vehicle?
I think so, but I'm not actually positive about that. I know the console that's in Daniel's truck now is so old it couldn't be programmed,
Right.
so we needed to get a new one with his new truck, but I don't know if that's a dual band or not, actually, so I don't know. I'm assuming that it is, but I don't know that for certain.
Well, assume does make something out of me on a number of occasions.
So,
I'd like that answered before I would vote on that.
well, if you would vote in favor of it if it were
If
with
it is
Wade.
a dual band radio for VHF and
we'll just-
800 megahertz trunking, I would vote in the affirmative,
All right,
sir.
we'll do it with that condition on there, and then that way, if it is, we'll move along. If not, we'll back up on that one.
Okay.
And then item 4,
Why are we paying for damage to 2 courthouse benches? Did we get someone irate and kick a bench?
Well, someone vandalized the benches at the courthouse. They were sentenced to pay restitution. They've actually paid a little bit. We want to go ahead, I don't know how much this will
So-
wind up collecting. This is just
So
what
basically
we've collected so far.
So basically, what you're telling us is, we are going to pay for the damages, to repair the damages, and hopefully, we will have a budget amendment showing the reimbursement in the future.
Basically, yeah.
Hope.
I mean, they did get sentenced to pay the restitution, and they've paid a little bit of it so far, so.
Well, you can't get blood out of a stone. I have no other objections, sir, and we'll make the motion that we approve the consent agenda with the modification made on 1.
condition that the radio is dual band.
Yes.
Okay.
It is, I just confirmed with Daniel.
Oh,
It is
well,
a- it is a
we
dual
know we
band,
have
so.
at least one person watching the proceedings. I remove my objection.
Well, it's still good either way.
Yeah.
What did they do to the benches? How did they vandalize them?
I don't know, do you know
They
specific?
carved into it
Scratching or, but they caught whoever did it?
during court.
Yeah. Was he charged with anything?
She, yes.
Yeah, they were convicted. I mean, they were ordered to pay their restitution, so I think it said Tom Smith for commissioner. or something.
He was not on the football team.
No, it said right Tom Smith in.
That's all.
Okay,
I would second Mr. Irwin's.
have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as written. All in favor, make it known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. 5-0. Thank you all.
Who says we don't have fun?
Okay, we are to item E, public comments. If there's anybody here that would like to address this board on any county matters, now would be the time to come and let us hear. Anybody jump at once? Okay, seeing no movement, we will move along to county manager comments. Mr. James, you have the floor.
All right, first up's transfer station update. I'm sure if you've been there, you've noticed the scales are delivered and in place. All the scale house is now in its permanent location as well, the new scale house. Though the electrical connections will be made tomorrow, and then we'll build the ramp. So everything will be completely operational probably by Tuesday or so of next week, something like that. So, and continuing to work on the entrance and things like that. So appreciate everyone's patience during the construction. We've had to reroute traffic a little bit, a time or two, but it's going to be so much better once everything is finished. And again, we've talked about, this is part one of a 3 or 4 phase improvements over the next 2 or 3 years to enhance everyone's user experience at the transfer station. So, any questions on that?
On the scales, this will help us with the Christmas tree farmers that are coming in and out weighing. Did we set a price on that in our fee schedule? What we're going to charge
It's $5 for a certified weight.
for a certified?
Yeah, that's just what you're paying for, our certification on your weight. Yeah,
If it's
$5.
if it's not certified, there's no charge?
I don't think we offer that as a service, so
Scale is certified, therefore any weight delivered is a
Yeah.
certified weight.
yeah.
And they won't have to unhook their trailer from the,
That's, with the new scale, that's correct, yeah. So, and again, the old set of scales will continue to be the exit scales, which most people don't need to weigh on the way out, because the regulars, we all know what their empty weight is and that kind of thing. So, well, everybody will be better off. The second one is the Sparta School construction update. I just wanted to let the commissioners and the citizens know, we have still not been able to issue the final approval on the elevator at the school. Daniel and Travis both have to sign off on it as fire inspector and as building inspector. They've been over there 6 or 8 times, and they still don't have it correct. And we are not going to compromise. We're not going to sign off on it until it is 100% to code and correct. And so we're still waiting on some minor updates from the contractor. So I just wanted everybody to know that.
Are we withholding
so.
payment? Are we withholding payment?
Well, that'd be up to the school. I don't, you know, that's their project. So, I'm sure I think the contract says the final payment is made upon,
their-
certificate
We
of
already paid the
occupancy,
school?
so.
Can we withhold from the school until we get final certification?
We've already paid it, so they're
Okay.
paying the last part. I'm sure that's in the contract,
Okay.
so.
Yeah,
But-
it won't settle
Yeah,
until
I mean, it's,
total.
on the one hand, it's kind of nitpicky, but on the other hand, the code is the code. It's there for a reason. This is a new elevator in our school, and we're not going to sign off on it until it's done, so. Third point, the Sparta bypass update. I know everyone's frustrated with the traffic light. It is scheduled to come out, November the 1st is the new date on that.
Of what year?
2018. I just want to remind everyone, the whole project, the bypass, is still almost 2 years ahead of schedule. Now, the particular traffic light, what they ran into there was unexpected, and that took a little longer, but the whole project is still well over a year ahead of schedule. But the traffic light is, Pinky promised us it would be out of there November the 1st.
This year.
This year.
I think I seen a Carl Rose paving truck kind of in the neighborhood, so I got excited today.
Yeah, so I think they keep running into more problems, like you watch them renovate an old house on one of those home improvement shows. Every time they open a wall, there's some new problem they didn't encounter, and you have to call in the mold guys or the exterminator or whatever, but they've just about gotten it fixed now. So Sarah mentioned some of the upcoming events. Just want to remind everybody, this is our events calendar on the Authentically Alleghany. Some of the events coming up. Sunday is the wine festival down at Thistle Meadow. We mentioned Mr. Burgess, who is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. Next weekend, we've got among other things, we've got the rodeo in town. We've also got the Glade Creek Fire Department's annual dinner and drawdown. The following weekend, the 19th, 20th, 21st, is a huge weekend. We've got the studio tours that weekend. We've got the circus that weekend, which, we get the circus twice a month here, but this is the actual circus that's coming in. And then, of course, the Hillbilly Comedy and Variety Show is that Saturday as well. So huge weekend there to kind of close out the fall event season. And, of course, all of the events are on here. We have the Veterans Memorial Walkway dedication, got that on the calendar for us. That is actual Veterans Day on a Sunday. So remind everybody, again, check your calendar. There's all kinds of events on here. All the different restaurants locally that have live music now on the weekend. So lots of things to do in the county. And again, our increasing sales tax is a big part of that. So we want to remind everybody about that.
On the veterans, that's a change of time from what it was originally scheduled.
Yeah, they've been talking about doing it at 2:30, but that's actually the weekend that the time changes back to standard time. And so since it'll be getting dark earlier, they moved the time up a little bit just to make sure, so everybody can get out of there before dusk. So. Elections coming up, of course, in November. We have official sample ballots. There's a box right outside the door across the hall, the elections office. It looks like this with the sample ballot. I encourage everybody to pick that up and study it. We've talked about all the constitutional amendments that the state has put on there for us to vote on. And, of course, we have the local referendum as well for the quarter-cent sales tax. All the different candidates, lots of candidates running for Commissioner and Board of Education, which is a good thing. So encourage everyone to pick up their sample ballot right across the hall there in the Board of Elections office. It'll also be in the newspaper as well coming up. Candidates Forum is next Monday evening at 6 o'clock. That'll be streamed live through the same way you watch the county commissioners meetings. So of course, that's an event you really want to be there live. I mean, there's a palpable excitement of one of those things live. It just doesn't come across on TV the same way. So,
Are all the candidates going to be at the forum?
the Friends of the Library,
Local.
it's not our event. The Friends of the Library is doing the event. I understand they've invited everyone. I don't know if everyone's going to attend.
Well,
I don't know.
I have heard a rumor that they only invited 6. They did not invite all of the candidates. I don't know if John Goodrow, the Libertarian, was left off.
I don't know. Again, the Friends of the Library host that event,
Okay.
so.
I'll give them a call. Thank you.
Okay. A couple of other things. Want to congratulate Social Services, Margaret Williams. We had the state in to review our child care subsidy program, and I've expanded the font here so you can see we had a 97% accuracy score. not, 95% is the minimum that's required, so we did pass that with flying colors. Want to congratulate her. Problem with a small county like us, one or two, problems can skew the data. If we'd had one more inaccuracy, we would not have been at 95%. But one of the two errors was we had somebody sign on the wrong line. That was what the error was. So that was pretty minor there. So I want to congratulate Margaret. She's been with us for over 20 years doing this program. And people underestimate the importance of child care to the economy. This is a subsidized child care program so that mom or dad or both can work, go to school, whatever. They can't, you can't take a $10 or $12 or $14 an hour job if you do not have child care that you can afford. This is a very important program to the economy as a whole, and we appreciate the fact it's run efficiently and per standards. So we congratulate Margaret on that. And then the last issue was the license plate agency that we've talked about a little bit. The county was awarded the contract to do that. We had talked during the process, we were hoping that a private company would come forward willing to run it. And we do have a private company that, I guess they got their application in late. They would like to pursue that. We heard back from DMV today. If we do step aside and let them operate it, it would be an extra 90 days or so to get the office operational. If we operate it, we anticipate it would open late January, early February. If we step aside and let the other company run it, it would be 90, 120 days later, so maybe May or June. And I just wanted to make sure that commissioners were comfortable with that time frame before we move forward, or if we should just keep it. I'm comfortable either way. We're prepared to go forward with it. We want to minimize the inconvenience to our citizens, certainly, but, just want to see what the commissioners thought on that. Don't need any action, just what's your opinion on that?
I think it'd probably take a little stress off of our tax office if a private individual was in charge of that department, personally.
Agree with Tom. I think it's a good service and a good intent, but if we can take that off our people, I think it's the right thing to do.
I would agree with that, except there's been so many different owners of that license plate office over the years. Give it one more try in the private sector, but if this fails, county needs to step up.
It is not a lucrative business, so. But we do appreciate
Well,
that there
that
are.
fits the government definition.
And that's all I have.
Okay. We will be hopefully looking for an MOU on our school property situation at our next meeting. Is that what you're thinking?
It won't be ready for the next meeting. It'll probably be probably a month or so before that's
Okay.
available.
On the list to come. And you mentioned the quarter-cent sales tax. We do have a couple of ads that have been developed for us that look pretty good, that we'll go out and try to, publish what we're doing, what the intent is for those. So, and with that, I will go to commissioner comments, starting with my far right, Mr. Commissioner Tom Smith.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just briefly, I had a discussion with a citizen that was interested in possibly locating a disc golf course here in Alleghany County. I know he's been in touch with a couple of y'all as well, and he would like to come to an evening meeting, which would be, I guess, a month from today, or our next evening meeting, and present this idea. I talked with Jim Brown briefly. He's apparently involved with a larger group that does this sort of thing. I don't know if it's a league or a whatever, but and he's got a lot of good ideas. It would come under outdoor recreation, and I think it would be wise to at least invite him here, if that's acceptable to you all, and let him go over some of the particulars of this.
Was that Frisbee golf? Tom?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That
What'd I
was
say?
one of the
Disc?
projects that were
Yeah.
selected for further study for the use of the outdoor recreation funds.
This person knows a lot what he's talking about. He's got some ideas as far as location, possibly the old ropes course behind the community college around, to try to get some high school youngsters involved. But if that's acceptable, maybe Jim can talk with him and see if he can come in and give us a little bit more information.
I encouraged Jim to get him on the agenda tonight, so I'm more than willing to bring him in. I'm excited about it.
I don't know what our agenda looks like that far out, if there's much on it or not, but I think we would certainly want to hear.
Seem to work with his schedule the best.
That'll be the
He's-
last commissioners meeting before the election too, so might be appropriate.
Quit smiling.
It will be. So that's all,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Commissioner Bobby, or Commissioner Prince?
The only thing was make sure we had something ready to promote the sales tax, and it sounded like you got it covered.
The manager does, so I want to give the credit where credit's
We'll
due.
have ads in the newspaper explaining and then I'm also filming a little video we'll have on the website. We cannot run the video on ACTV because it's advocating, voting one way or the other, but we'll have it on YouTube and on the county website, Facebook, things like that as well, so.
Well, I mean, we could put the information out. They can vote ever how they want to. I mean, it's,
I'm a salesman, I'm closing with, I want you to vote yes for this, so.
Commissioner Jono.
I have several things, so I guess I'm the mouth of the South. I received a call from a citizen that was concerned about our emergency declaration. We declared an emergency, but the public didn't know it until their churches called and said, we've had an emergency declaration declared, and we are not going to have church. We may need to work up some phone numbers to call so that we can get it on local TV, possibly the radio in Galax, since we can't get it on the one in Sparta, both to make the declaration and also to rescind it. She called me on Wednesday of this week and had never heard that the emergency declaration had been rescinded. So getting the word out, we can do this, but it means nothing if we don't get the word out. I've also received a number of phone calls about roadside trash. They feel that since we have raised the fees at the garbage dump, that people are now taking their trash and dumping it on the side of the road. I don't know if we've got an ordinance for dumping trash on the side of the road. This may be something that we do need to look at. If we're going to raise fees, if people don't want to pay it, they're going to dump it on the side of the road. And that, I can support an ordinance where the sheriff would do the investigation like they do in New Hanover County. If they go through the trash and they find a piece of mail or something like that, the trash is identified, and then we lay a $50 fine on the individual household and the cost of cleanup, plus all the trash. This is something that I would be very interested in if indeed this is becoming a problem. I've asked them to give me the 2 locations that they are noting at this time. I would like to apologize to Commissioner Smith. I feel that this body failed to recognize you in due course, sir, on your advancement into old age. So as we went around, it is well known, whenever Mr. Smith, Commissioner Smith, was a teacher in Alleghany High School, he would actually let his class out early on the days that they had red hot dogs, because he wanted to get red hot dogs. Guess what I've had? Happy birthday, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
And I will give you the location. I have tried them, and they are great. I do want my my container
Oh,
back.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. The
By
last,
the way, welcome to old age.
thank you. The last time I got a present from my colleagues, it turned out to be a President Trump doll. So everybody can be rest assured that we found a good home for that particular item. And, geez, I guess, thanks, guys.
Hey, just say motion to adjourn. and I'll
That-
second.
Well, no,
Absolutely.
one thing I want to say, Commissioner Smith, if you reach age 65, there's almost a 40% chance statistically you will reach age 90. So congratulations on that. You've got a great chance to live to 90 now.
Well, I'd love to
You
have
can
that
run
in
for
writing.
Commissioner at 88.
Thank you, and a motion to adjourn.
Before we go, the thing, Johnny, on the state of emergency in the churches, we didn't tell them they couldn't have church.
Yeah.
It was a recommendation, so it's a big difference.
Our declaration did have an end date on it.
It
So
did?
we didn't need to rescind it. It had
But
an
we
end date
did-
on it.
They
Yeah.
didn't, they weren't aware of
We
it.
didn't, we probably didn't communicate that part of it effectively, but
We
it
do
did have
need to get it out.
did have a termination date on it.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Officially over. Thank you all.
Tom voted no.